Good morning everyone and welcome to my channel English Literature. In our previous video we have talked about Italian Renaissance, how Renaissance flourished in Italy, and in this video we will talk about English Renaissance. From Italy, Renaissance started spreading all over the Europe, and in the meantime it also visited England. And for the peak time of Renaissance was during the Tudor dynasty from 1500 to 1600, and that time Renaissance was at its peak time. The growing prosperity and economic stability, the gorgeous lifestyle of Italian city-states drew the attention of English travelers. And again, various learned person of England was sent on diplomatic mission in Italy. We know about Chaucer and Chaucer's three writing period, and among them one was Italy. Chaucer was sent on various diplomatic missions in Italy by King Edward III, and then he came into contact with the Italian writers Petrarch, Boccaccio, and they influenced Chaucer in various ways in his writing. We have already, when we talk about Chaucer, we already know how Italian writers, Italian scholars influenced Chaucer's writing. So in this way, from that one instance, you can understand that how actually Renaissance scholar influenced English Renaissance. And they started following them in their writing, in their thought, in their idealism, everywhere. Now, during 1400s, the Renaissance spread from Italy to the other parts of Europe, and eventually it reached England. During Tudor rule in England from 1485 to 1603, that is the time span of Tudor rule, and that is, I already told you that is the peak time. Oh, what a straight line I have just drawn. And there was sustainable development in the literary and cultural arena. The Tudor rulers were the most significant promoters of the Renaissance in England. At the time, English people got interested in foreign countries, their history and literature. So, who were those Tudor rulers? The Tudor rulers, Henry VII, 1485 to 1509, and then Henry VIII, 1509 to 1547, Edward the First, 1547 to 1553, then Queen Mary the First, 1553 to 1558, and then Elizabeth the First, 1558 to 1603. Renaissance, though flourished during Tudor dynasty, extended till the Stuart reign, and two Stuart rulers we will name here. Till them Renaissance was also visible. James the First, 1603 to 1625, Charles the First, 1625 to 1649. So here is the chart of Tudor rulers and two Stuart rulers and their span of ruling. These are all the ruling span, not their lifespan. Now the Renaissance period closed with the execution of Charles the First. It is considered that Renaissance in England closed with the execution of Charles the First, so in 1649. Now, in English literature, the Renaissance was traced in four periods. For our understanding and better comprehension, we can divide English Renaissance in four periods. The period of preparation, the High Renaissance time, and for period of preparation we have already discussed in a video, that is medieval England, a barren period or a development or preparation ground. That video you must watch before venturing into Renaissance. So that was the video on how Renaissance was preparing for the development. So that video was very important for understanding Renaissance. Now High Renaissance time and the ripe age of Renaissance and the decline of Renaissance. So in this way we can divide the Renaissance period, Renaissance time span, and we can discuss it. Sorry. Now, how the Tudor rulers accelerated the growth of the Renaissance in England. So who are the first Tudor rulers? Henry VII, 1485 to 1509. And during Henry VII, notable prosperity was visible in Renaissance England. He did what? He invited many Italian humanists to his court. These men ignited English thought and idealism. English scholars started translating classical literature. Now, Lady Margaret Beaufort. Who was Lady Margaret Beaufort? Lady Margaret Beaufort was the mother of Henry VII. He was a patroness of the art and culture. She sponsored two colleges, Christ's and St. John's. So she baked and patronaged culture, knowledge, literature in England. Henry VII's mother, and Henry VII was also like her. Erasmus was a great scholar who taught at Cambridge. Again, Henry VII checked the power of the nobles so that they could not be a threat to the monarch. The nobles were very powerful as they accumulated huge armies, and king has to depend on the noble for the armies. But gradually the nobles were becoming more and more powerful and they were accumulating huge armies, and if they find that king is not in their favor, so they can conjugally, they can together with all the 2 or 3 nobles, that if they just announce rebellion against king will be collapsed. So from that fear, Henry VII did what? He just curbed the power of the nobles. Now Henry VII strengthened his power through matrimonial alliances. His eldest son Arthur married Catherine of Aragon. We know that name, that Arthur will be dead, and Henry VII's second son, the other son Henry VIII, will marry Catherine and again try to divorce her, and that's why there will be Reformation. And daughter of King Ferdinand of Spain, his daughter Margaret also married James IV of Scotland. So these things you can ask that why these things are related to Renaissance. Keep in mind one thing, a hungry belly cannot produce a painting. So actually when a country, a nation is in turmoil, restlessness, not in the static point, not in some calm, not in flourishment, not in stability, economic or financial or politically, whatever you can tell it, not in the point of stability, then there will be no change, no improvement, nothing. So Henry VII did what? He just strengthened his power, secured England from various parts, matrimonial alliances, curbing the power of the nobles. He was just securing England to its frame. And now, after it came into a settlement, then you can proceed to the other parts of life. The basic parts, when the basic parts of life are settled, then you can proceed to the other parts of life. Not in the turmoil, you can write a poetry. So during the rule of Henry VII, sea voyages and discovery started. John Cabot, along his son, discovered many parts of, Northern America. It disturbed. He appointed judges who settled disputes in the country. Again, scholars like Chaucer, Linacre, and Colet taught Greek at Oxford. So, scholars were patronized by King Henry VII, and he also helped in sea voyages, that is the exploration of different countries. So, when there will be sea voyages, there will be exploration, there will be more knowledge and more understanding. St. Paul's Grammar School was also founded. Now Henry VII's son Henry VIII, and he is famous for one reason, that is a Reformation in England. He married 6 times and beheaded some of his queens and divorced some, and in this way he is just famous Tudor king, the main protagonist of English Reformation. He declared himself the supreme head of Church of England through the Act of Supremacy in 1534. And what? It breached with Rome. And when you separate yourself from a larger body and you became independent, and this independent spirit helps you in doing something. So when you breach yourself from this larger body, that is Roman Catholic Church and it is English Church. So Henry VIII, due to his personal reason, just breached from the Roman Catholic Church and became independent. And that's why it gained the power to do something new. He ordered dissolution of monasteries. So Henry VIII ordered the dissolution of monasteries to curb Pope's authority. So there was huge money, huge property. What was the use of that? He just used them in cultural development of his country. Now Edward the Sixth. Sorry, it was not Edward the First. I told you it was Edward the Sixth. Here in this list, you can find there is a list. There is a mistake. Edward. It will be Edward the Sixth. Now, in this time of Edward the Sixth, that is 1547 to 1553, England became a Protestant country. And after Edward the Sixth died an untimely death at very young age, Mary, the daughter of Catherine, who was divorced by Henry VIII and for whom the Reformation came. So the daughter of Catherine, Mary, revived Catholic power and reunited England with Rome. Protestants were persecuted and burned at the stake. Now after Mary, there is Elizabeth. Elizabeth was a daughter. Elizabeth was a daughter of, you can remember, Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII, who was beheaded. And Elizabeth the First, 1558 to 1603, that was the peak time of Renaissance, the highest flourishment, glorious age of Renaissance, glorious age of England was visible this time. He restored Protestantism in England. This age experienced the peak time of Renaissance in England. People were emerging from the darkness of Middle Ages and entering into the vivacious life of Renaissance. Self-confidence, bubbling with patriotic zeal. And this was a wonderful time for literature. We'll discuss about Elizabethan literature in details. The defeat of Spanish Armada. It is very important for the patriotic spirit of the nation. That defeat of Spanish Armada. And this 1588, keep in mind 1588 defeat of Spanish Armada by the English Navy and boost in patriotic zeal. Pursuit of physical pleasure, knowledge, adventure, enjoying life like bear baiting, cockfighting, hunting. These are the features, these are the things that life should be enjoyable. Human life should be give importance, not that heavenly life. When we will die, we will do that after dying, not after death life. But before death life was given importance to its fulfillment. And Queen Elizabeth supported the intellectual and artistic craze of her time. She patronized the education, the literary development. And you will find it really in when we will discuss about the literature of Elizabethan period. Some outstanding personalities of the Renaissance. We will talk about them later in Elizabethan period, but just take a look. Walter Raleigh, Francis Drake, Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, Thomas Wyatt, Earl of Surrey, Thomas More, William Shakespeare, Philip Sidney, John Milton, etc. Now the impact of Renaissance in English literature. The Renaissance brought innovation to English literature, and how? In various fields, like in drama. In this period actually drama took the perfect shape. Till now drama was just a baby toddler, and in Renaissance in England drama just took the perfect shape. It come into its adulthood. It is a literary form developed into the integrated shape during Renaissance. Taking influence from classical literature, English drama took concrete form in the hands of university wits, and we will talk about the university wits and their exponents in details. And Shakespeare. University wits and Shakespeare, they were the major frame of English drama. Now Marlowe's heroes, Dr. Faustus, Tamburlaine, all were modelled on Renaissance heroes who seek knowledge, abandoning the spiritual growth. And Milton, Saturn in Paradise Lost, Hamlet, Macbeth, you find they are all just discussion on humanism, that human fate is nothing but human vices and virtues, that is human characteristic flaw is dominated his or her actions. That is the main point. Now came poetry. In poetry, the novel, again we have to keep in mind that there was other type, not only that University wits and Shakespeare, there is Ben Jonson's style, another style of humor in this drama, and John West's style, that is bloodshed and revenge. The cynical style that we find in Thomas Kidd. So different styles and types were introduced and shaped in this time. Now poetry, following poetry, novel style, in meter, in theme. In the hands of Wordsworth, Shelley, Spenser, Sidney, Shakespeare, poetry gained maturity, and they were the major exponents of Elizabethan or Renaissance poetry. Thomas Wyatt introduced sonnet. Milton's Paradise Lost Renaissance fulfilled its highest agenda. Now novel, the Saturn character. He was totally different from the other characters. How Saturn was portrayed somewhat as a hero, as the main character, the protagonist. If a villain can be a protagonist, then you can understand what the main feature it will be. The novel, Renaissance inaugurated a new style of prose. Prose literature was there, but not so much vigorous, not so much mature. So prose literature gained the maturity in this time. Thomas More's Utopia was the prologue to English Renaissance, and it is very important. Now John Lyly tried his hand in novel by Euphues, The Anatomy of Wit, Malory's Morte d'Arthur, Erasmus's Praise and Folly. These were the prose literature in this period. So Renaissance dominated and shaped various forms of literature in drama, poetry, and in various parts we can find the influence of Renaissance and how Renaissance developed and shaped them. Okay, so in our next video we'll talk about the causes and then the effects of Renaissance, and in this way one day I believe that we'll finish Renaissance.